So we have a two female couple. Their names are Willow and Pistachio.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hello, and welcome back to an episode of the podcast that I probably shouldn't even be making right now. The Rossifari podcast is here, y'all. What can I say? I am in love with this project, and even a hospital couldn't keep me from getting this episode out. So, in case you missed Friday's very quick Zoo News update, which I recorded on an iPhone in a hospital bathroom while my hospital roommate was asleep, I'm not well. And that's really all I'm going to say about it for now. I'll give you guys more of an update on the next Zoo News episode on Friday. But yeah, this project is important to me. This collaboration with Adventure Aquarium is important to me. It is Penguin Awareness Month, y'all. And we need to be aware of some penguins. So if my voice sounds a little rusty here, or if I sound a little off still, just know that I'm recovering from some stuff. But I'm out of the hospital and I'm making a podcast. And honestly, I couldn't be happier about it. I was actually having a conversation with my dear friend Amanda and saying that I needed to get this episode done for today. And she reminded me that, my audience would understand. And in fact, you won't all stop listening if there is one episode that we have to skip, or if we even, heaven forbid, take a break like every other podcast in the world. And yeah, she was right. She's 100% right, and I know that. But this one's for me. I wanted to do this. I wanted to listen to today's interview and edit it and get this out into the world because it gives me a sense of accomplishment, and laying in a hospital bed, weirdly enough, doesn't. So let's breeze through some quick stuff. Make sure you're following along on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Rossifari. On TikTok at Rossifari Pod, I guess, or whatever. Maybe I'll get back there someday. But yeah, the bandit shirts are sold out. So if you missed your shot at a bandit shirt, sorry, but they are currently being made and they all look wonderful. And I'm so excited about it. But too late for you. Maybe we'll do that again sometime. We'll see. But yeah, and enough. Let's get to this interview because it is awesome. Today, I am bringing you, as part of our collaboration with Adventure Aquarium, the penguin mama, Mary Elizabeth, who is just a joy. Mary Elizabeth really brings a lot of energy to this podcast, and listening back to it after a dark week was a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about the two types of penguins that Adventure Aquarium houses and kind of the differences between them. You'll get some general species stuff. You'll get some individual personalities. And then at the end of the main interview, you're going to hear me and Mary Elizabeth, as well as Lauren, who you may remember is our PR guide through all of these, head on out to the penguin exhibit. We couldn't go behind the scenes because of the avian influenza that's happening right now, but we did actually go out and kind of have a conversation out there about some of the penguins, and it's really worth listening to. Now, in the past, whenever I have said something like that, I then followed it up by saying, now obviously we were there during public hours and I was using my hand recorder, so the audio is crap, but I cleaned it up pretty well. Well, y'all, ya boy learned some new tricks, or bought some new toys for the podcast. You're still going to hear a difference, but for those of you who have heard those loud, backgroundy, crazy things before on this podcast, wait until you hear the difference. I am so excited about the next step of making this podcast even more professional and cooler and better sounding, and you're going to get to hear it at the end of this interview. But first, you get to hear a commercial. Today's episode is brought to you by Daydreamers Studios. Do you have stories and expertise to share with the world? Have you ever thought about starting your own podcasts? There's no better time to start than now with the help of a trusted production partner. Daydreamer Studios is a full-service production company that takes all the stress off your plate. You can focus on creating engaging content while they focus on recording, editing, audio engineering, hosting, and publishing on 22 platforms. Log into the advanced remote system with one click, and the Daydreamer team will be on the other end, ready for you to record everything you have to say. Owned and operated by Daydreamer Network, Daydreamer Studios continues on the company's mission to empower storytellers of all kinds by making podcasting accessible to all. For more information and current promotions, visit daydreamernetwork.com/studios. All right, and with all that said, it is time. Let's go talk to the penguin mama, Mary Elizabeth, at Adventure Aquarium to celebrate Penguin Awareness Month. Woo! All right, so tell me who you are, where we are, and what you do here.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Mary Elizabeth. I am a biologist at Adventure Aquarium in Camden, New Jersey. I am also known as the African penguin mama.
And I'm assuming that is a non-biological title.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my official title is biologist, too, for the bird and mammal team. But I am lovingly known as the penguin mama around the aquarium.
That is amazing. So I have to tell you, I'm doing this 5 episode arc here at Adventure.
Yes.
And it's very exciting to me. But I have to tell you right off the bat the way this all got started.
Okay.
Which is that I came here. I love Adventure. I live, outside of Philly. Cool. And I'm a member and everything. I love it here. And I came on an evening when they were doing the sensory-friendly evening.
Yes.
And I was hanging out with my sea turtle friends. And there was a bunch of staff hanging out there, and not a whole lot of people coming through. It was pretty chill that night, which, was the plan. And I heard somebody say, well, let's go get Cassie. And I assumed that Cassie was another staff member who was going to come and hang out. And I was like, I remember thinking, well, I hope Cassie is quiet because I'm enjoying the peace and calm as I sit here watching sea turtles. And it turns out that Cassie is not only not calm, but is the star of any show that Cassie goes to.
Yes,
and I was able to walk over and hang out and play the shadow game and all kinds of stuff. And that's when I started meeting different staff and talking to people and talking about doing the pod here and launched all of this. So can you tell my listeners who Cassie is?
So Cassie, or Casanova, she is an African penguin. She is a female. She is around 7 years old, and she loves going for walks. That's one of her favorite things to do. She loves exploring. She loves interacting with our guests, interacting with, different things. Like we took her for a walk during Christmas, and she loved looking at all the lights and poking at all of the Christmas trees and all the little Christmas ornaments. So Cassie is definitely a favorite around here.
Yes, and Cassie, what species is Cassie?
Cassie is an African or black-footed penguin.
Yes, and talk about shadow game a little bit and how that works. That's my favorite.
So African penguins, well, not just African penguins, penguins in general are very visual animals. And one of the things they really like to chase is shadows. So a lot of times when guests go out to Penguin Island and they start noticing, like myself, or maybe another staff member, maybe brushing the pool or hosing the deck, they notice that they will not only follow us, but follow our shadows as well. And that quickly becomes their favorite game of chasing or cat and mouse type of thing.
Yes. There was a moment with Cassie where I was sitting there and I was playing with shadows and chasing them, and my hand got a little low. And she looked up, and I'm pretty sure she registered that I was making the shadows or the hand was just more interesting. I'm not entirely sure. But then suddenly she was chasing my hand, and then suddenly a handler was chasing her.
Yes. They all know stranger danger. All of our penguins know stranger danger. So they're like, wait, you're not Mom. What are you doing?
that was one of, I get to have a lot of cool animal experiences.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest. And it was just such a random thing I was just there for,
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful to Cassie. As a matter of fact, as we're doing all these interviews, I took a little lunch break and I had to run out and see the colony. And I had to find Cassie. And it was like, there are lots of penguins.
Yes.
And I had to do a search to find good old number 14.
Yes.
Which
Look at
obviously,
you.
oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
I'm impressed.
Guessing that it's 14. I mean, it could be random, but I'm guessing because she was born on Valentine's Day, which is Casanova as well.
So
Am I right?
that is so we actually used to do a session number. So when an animal either gets born here or comes to the aquarium, they add a session number. But when we got to a 5 and 6 digit number, a session number, that's very long for us to be able to put on their bands. So then we just started at 1 and then we just started working our way back. So Cassie just happened to be number 14. So it just kind of worked out that way.
I know that Casanova is from the Valentine's Day.
Exactly. So it just kind of worked out that way, which is funny.
Okay. That's awesome. Very cool. I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, I love Cassie and I love that story so much that I had to start.
Yeah,
with
no,
that.
absolutely. I love Cassie too. She's my favorite.
Yes, nice. And now, okay, so let's, hit the brakes and rewind and actually start where I normally start my interviews.
Okay.
But Cassie's just too important.
I know, she's so important. She likes to think so too.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I guarantee you will play this for her. She will hear this and be nodding along.
Oh, I know. She's like, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. She's definitely known as the Princess Penguin for a reason. So,
yes. But so who are you? When did you decide that you like animals? How did you get here? Tell me the thing.
So I always loved animals, even when I was younger. I was actually brought here when I was much, much younger, walking around with my family, just kind of falling in love with the animals, falling in love with conservation and making a difference for our planet. And that reflected to me as an adult. I went to Richard Stockton College, which is now Richard Stockton University of New Jersey, and I got a Bachelor of Science degree in biology and a minor in marine science. I actually started in guest experience for about a year. So I did the touch tanks and then I moved over to the bird and mammal team.
Okay, very cool. Let's talk about those touch tanks.
Yes, absolutely.
So what all were you dealing with in the touch tanks?
So the touch tanks, so depending on where you were, there were different invertebrates, like stingrays or sea cucumbers or sea stars, where guests would be able to, reach in with 2 fingers and give a nice gentle touch. They definitely feel not as what you expect, definitely a sea cucumber or a stingray. But it is really nice because we do give them a rotation. So that means they do get a break. A 15-minute break every hour, and as well as they are welcome to sit in the middle of their exhibit. So if they don't feel like being touched, they have a right of refusal, a right of saying, no, thank you, I don't really wish to be touched today, which is perfectly acceptable as well.
Yeah, consent is very important.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, what do you think is the benefit of that for the kids of all ages who do the touch tanks? Because I always do the touch tanks.
Oh, sure. No, absolutely. It's great because I feel like people get a sense of connection and people aren't going to protect what they don't care about. And they come in, they see a stingray, they see a sea star. All of a sudden they want to know more about that animal. And then it's like, well, why is it that, stingrays or maybe sea stars aren't doing as well as they used to. And, that becomes a bigger topic.
Okay. Very good. Very good. And, from as much as you can tell, the animals are all cool with it. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if they don't feel like being touched, they can just move to the center of their exhibit, which they have learned over time. And that's why our exhibits are built the way that they are. So the animals do have a right of refusal.
Nice. Perfect. And when you are working at touch tanks.
Yes.
I have 2 very important questions.
Okay.
First of all is how often do you have to reach in and touch because you're just there and you want to, even though you're used to the animals?
I used to do it all the time. Maybe not creature feature because the water is super cold. So maybe not that one. But definitely the stingrays were my favorite. They are always so fun and so playful, and they definitely I used to call them underwater puppies.
Nice. See, again, it all goes back to, I've said this so many times, but all exotic animals are just secretly dogs or cats.
Pretty much. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the second important question that I have is how do you handle the breakdowns that happen? Because I know I've heard them sometimes from I think states away when a child is being encouraged to touch and maybe doesn't want to or whatever. How do you use that as a teachable moment?
That's a great question. So I always like to approach the child and the parent and, just kind of say, if I touch with you, would you be okay? Nothing in this exhibit is going to hurt you. Everything is nice and safe. We would not let you touch it unless it was perfectly safe and perfectly fine. Just kind of remind the child in that and just reassure. A lot of times if I were to touch first and then the child would be, oh, okay, that's not so scary. I can try that. Absolutely.
Cool. That's good. That's awesome. I think that there should be a rule that once a day you get to mess with a kid. Like when the hand's already in, be like, oh, that one bites. Just one, just to break up the monotony.
But then you would, you scar that child for life.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, job satisfaction's important too. Come on. Oh boy, I just had lunch, so I'm all full of beans right now.
That's okay. As long as you're not full of bologna.
Oh man. All right. So it is. We are melting down. I love it. All right.
Sorry, I snorted.
No, this is great. This is great. So we are here to talk about penguins.
Yes, we are.
And there are 2 colonies of penguins here.
Yes, there are.
And while we know that you are the mother of the African penguins.
Yes, I am.
We're going to start with the little blues because something exciting happened just now.
Yes, it is.
And I want you to tell us about it.
So we have a little blue penguin chick, and we were super excited that we were able to do a sex or a gender reveal party for our staff, for the Bird and Mammal and F&I Fish and Invert team. And we found out that she is going to be a little girl. Our chick is a little girl. So we have another little lady. I know. Can never have too many ladies in the colony.
That's fair. That's fair. And it was kind of ridiculous that I'm hanging out. I'm at the top of the turtle dock.
Yes.
And because it would be bad to be under the turtle dock.
Yeah, it would be terrible.
Yeah. And I'm hanging out with sea turtles, and Lauren turns to me and is like, I'm going to leave you here. And I mean, I was with somebody. It wasn't like I was alone. Could have left me alone. I would have been fine. But she's like, because I have to go to a penguin sex reveal party. What is my life? And I was like, yes.
That's okay. Lauren usually gets suckered into a lot of the things that I do. Like, hey, I'll text her and be like, Lauren, I have a new enrichment idea. Can you please come over? Or, I need you to come film this for me, please. She's always down to.
So tell me how, we all know what reveal parties look like.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Instagram and Facebook and me rolling my eyes when it's humans. Now with penguins, I'm like, I'm down for this.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But so how did the reveal happen?
So our wonderful vet tech, Nicolette, she made us penguin shaped cupcakes.
What?
I know, she's such a good little baker. Where we wouldn't be able to tell what color of icing would be on the inside unless we bit into it. And we all bit into it, and it was nice pink frosting. So it was fun. It was great. Yeah, it was absolutely great. It was the cutest little penguin shaped cupcakes ever.
That is amazing.
Right?
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. That's so much fun. And little blues are not a super common species in captivity.
No, there's not. There's only 7 facilities here in the United States that actually have little blue penguins.
Ooh, can you name them?
No, I cannot.
Okay.
Absolutely
and alphabetically,
not.
please.
I know the Bronx Zoo has them because that's where the importation is happening. That's the only one I can name besides us.
Okay, I'll take it.
Absolutely not.
I didn't actually expect you to be able to. I would have been almost like that would have been boring. No, okay, but so 7 facilities.
Yes.
And they're really a cornerstone here.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you find people think about and ask about and wonder about with little blues? So
a lot of people think when they see little blue penguins that they're babies because they're small, they're tiny. But in fact, we do have to, tell people just like people, some people are short. I'm 5'0", so I'm pretty short. And then there's other people that are 6'2". So, penguins come in all sizes, just like humans.
Cool. All right. And so let's talk about the little blues. Tell me about them. For starters, just kind of go over like a about them as a group, as a species.
As a whole?
Yeah,
sure. So you can find little blue penguins in New Zealand and Australia. So they're warm weather species. They are blue, believe it or not. So
also little. This is why we come here, folks, for the good animal information. Yep.
This is why I went to college. So they can live to be about 10 to 15 years if they are lucky out in the wild. There is actually dogs that actually protect them in their natural habitat, there is. Yeah,
Tell me about this.
They are the name escapes me, but they are actually bred to protect little blue penguins from like foxes and things like that because their population was declining so rapidly.
Okay. I love conservation.
Oh my gosh. You mean like it's a puppy and it's going to protect these birds? Like that's the coolest thing ever. But there are fish eaters and they are the most vocal of all of the penguins. Definitely our guests will find that out when they walk by. Yes.
All right. We'll be back after this quick break.
Check out the new nature podcast that everyone is talking about, Birds of a Feather Talk Together. If you like Radiolab or Planet Earth, you'll love Birds of a Feather Talk Together. Escape from the daily grind into the world of birds. 2 experts and 2 amateurs talk about a different species every week. Recently, we talked about the osprey, burrowing owls, roadrunners, pigeons, giant hummingbirds, house wrens, sandhill cranes, and so many more. We have a lot of fun every week. Learn more about the incredible birds around you and some that you didn't know existed. Birds of a Feather Talk Together. You're going to like these birds. I guarantee it.
Awesome. And what is the, so I know that there are kind of a lot of generalizations made about penguins that people know whether they're accurate or not. Mm-hmm. And would you say that the little blues are pretty stereotypical in the penguin world?
I would say no, because they are blue. So most penguins are black and white. So they're blue. They're also pretty small. They also do not have a heat vent like most warm weather species do. And they don't have a stripe across their chest like most warm weather species do. The cold weather species do not have that stripe. So that's one of the ways you can tell them just by looking at them. So they break all the rules, which I like. I'm a fan of.
That's awesome. And let's go into some individuals. Tell me some of I almost said people, but
that's okay.
The little blue people, the Smurfs. Tell me about the Smurfs.
To tell you about the Smurfs. So number 13, her name is Aroha. She is definitely a personable bird. She will follow you around like a little shadow. She is definitely notorious for stealing your brushes and your rags. If you're not paying close attention, she will also supervise you when you're cleaning the beach. So when you're sifting the sand, she is there making sure that you got every little bit.
That's adorable.
I know. She's super cute.
And while we're talking about the sand, let's talk about their exhibit. It's a really cool exhibit.
Yeah, right, isn't it? So my favorite aspect of it is that island in the middle of the water column. It is so nice. It's so cool to see them kind of sitting in there and taking a break from swimming. I also really love our wave machine that we have in there as well. It creates a really nice current for our penguins to swim in.
And is that just to recreate like their naturalistic habitat?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then their land is, as you said, a beach.
It is.
But it's inside.
Yes.
So it's a sandbox, but I mean, it looks like a beach. Don't get me wrong. But
absolutely.
From the perspective of somebody who has to clean it, and who has to have water near it that needs to be somewhat clear, what challenges does that present?
That is a great question. So we are constantly scrubbing before we open. We definitely make sure that that's one of the first things that we do in the morning is scrubbing. However, the birds do like to drag that sand into the water, so we will use a pole and just kind of gently kind of push that sand to the bottom of the pool. And one of the last things that we will do before we open is clean that acrylic for the public to see. They like to splash, and it is salt water, so they like to leave the salt all over those windows.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you go to get pictures of them where like you have to move your phone a little bit every once in a while because it's like, oh, completely blurry. Ooh, completely clear, completely blurry, completely clear. Now I don't have the beak in the picture. Dang it. Yeah, that's real. But yeah, tell me about another one or two of the little blues.
Sure. So we have a bunch of the littles. Well, we call them littles because they are their youngsters. Pixie, a siren, Griffin. They are really fun. They also follow us around. They love swimming. They will definitely poke at you in the water when you are servicing the windows. They're definitely a little bit bolder, I guess you could say.
Nice. And how deep does that water get when you're in there?
Only about waist deep. So I'm 5 foot, so maybe about like 2.5, 3 feet.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was gonna say because it's not like you're scuba-ing.
No. We do snorkel in there to kind of be able to really get into the nooks and crannies. So we do that about once a week, and then we will actually vacuum the exhibit as well once a week too.
Okay, interesting. Very cool. Yeah, it's kind of funny when you. I felt like a bit of an idiot when you were like, yeah, and then we have the sand at the bottom. And I had this thought of like, well, you can't have sand at the bottom. Oh no, wait, that's what the ocean is. It's sand at the I guess that makes sense.
That's okay. Are you having a pretty moment?
Yeah, it's okay.
That's okay.
Of the two colonies,
yes,
would you say, and I know you're biased,
I'm
but
a little biased.
from a guest perspective, from interactions and stuff, which would you say is the more popular?
I would have to say the Africans. They're definitely have bigger personalities. We also have 47 of them.
Right.
Little blues, we have 18. So there is a much bigger colony out there. So we kind of spread out a little bit more. We definitely take up more room. And I find that guests spend maybe a little bit more time in front of the African penguins, but I think I might just be a little biased, just a little.
Yeah, we got that. We got that. But that's fair. I was just curious because I know that both my fiance and one of her best friends will come here and stare at the blues. Now, these are two veterinarians. We are not talking about like people that don't get animals.
Oh no, yeah.
And I can just lose them there. I can like go do the rest of the aquarium and like go for a walk and then do the aquarium again, and they'll just be like, blue penguins.
Blue penguins. That one moved.
Yep, that's basically what happens.
A quarter of an inch. Look, it's so cute. It moved.
Yep. It's amazing. So I know y'all are AZA here.
Yes, we are.
And you're talking about this new chick.
Yes.
That is a chick.
Yes.
And I'm curious, is this a managed population? Is it an SSP type thing? How does all of that work?
Absolutely. So just like with our African penguins, the little blue penguins are SSP recommended. There is a committee that gets together every 2 years, and they tell us who is going to be a really good breeding pair and who is allowed to breed and maybe who needs to take a break from breeding because we don't want to oversaturate the population since there is only 7 facilities that do have little blue penguins. We want to make sure that we are reproducing responsibly.
Makes sense. And how does that work with penguins? Because it's not like, I mean, my understanding is they kind of choose their own mates, and
yes, they do.
They cheat on each other.
Yes, they do.
And so how do you handle genetic diversity when that can happen?
That's a great question. So that's when our observation skills come into full force. We spend a lot of time staring at our animals to make sure that who is 6 sitting with now? Is it 12? Is it 1? Is it 3? What's going on? And that's when we also rely on our guest experience team as well, because they are on the floor with the guests and they can stare at our animals for much longer than we can. So we really rely on ourselves and as well as the rest of the aquarium too.
But so what happens? What happens if 6 falls in love with 3 and the SSP says, no?
Well, then, we can't... we basically, if a female were to lay an egg that we know that she cannot have, we will simply pull it. So they're kind of like chickens. Just because there's an egg doesn't necessarily mean that there is a baby inside.
Makes sense. Right.
So we pull it, but we will give her a dummy egg to let her sit, let her relax because we don't want her to reclutch so quickly. That takes a lot of energy and a lot of calcium away from a female. So that kind of slows the process down a little bit.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. And so I've held you on long enough. So let's talk about your friends. I can tell
my
with every
babies.
question.
Yes.
I'm just like, all right, let's get to it.
Yes.
Let's talk about the African penguins.
Yes.
So tell me things. I mean, you can guide this part better than I can. That's for dang sure.
So we have 47 African penguins. We have a pretty diverse age group. Our oldest African penguin, his name is Cliff. He's 34 years old. I know he's going to be 35 in September. He is a grumpy old man who loves sleeping in private swims and private breakfast time. So he is not at all spoiled. Well, they're all spoiled, but he is very spoiled by our staff. We have one juvenile. Well, we have one juvenile. We used to have 3, but they just went through their first catastrophic molt. So now they are adults in the eyes of the colony.
So that sounds, well, the term catastrophic molt sounds disastrous.
Oh, it sounds tragic, doesn't it?
And then you made it into a bar mitzvah.
Yes.
And so that sounds better. But what is a catastrophic molt?
So a catastrophic molt is something that the penguins will do every single year around the same time. It's basically when they gain a little bit of weight. They lose all their old feathers, and then they gain their really pretty new black and white feathers, and they lose all their excess weight. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks for them to do this. The first time, it's very tragic. We don't really know how to feel. It's all new feelings. We're really heavy, and we don't understand why, and we're grumpy. So we are very needy, especially that first time around. And we have 3 boys this time going through their first molt, so they are extra needy right now and want extra attention. So, and I am very happy to give them all that extra attention if they need it. So I am here for the animals.
Clearly.
Okay,
wow. I didn't realize that male and female penguins basically have PMS. That's exciting.
Pretty much, yeah. And when a penguin goes poof, when they lose all their feathers, they have about 70 feathers per square inch. So that's a lot of feathers.
That's a lot of feathers.
And remember, we have 47 African penguins, and they all have to molt at one time. So the house is going to be covered in feathers. It's like a pillow fight when you walk in sometimes.
That's hilarious. Wow. All right. That's a lot to process right there.
I know, right?
Really interesting. Very cool though. That's neat. And it's so funny that their first one is like, is that why it's called catastrophic, or is there, no, yeah, you're nodding your head. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I wasn't sure if it was that or if it was literally just like a more scientific term, but no, it's just a disaster.
No, it's a disaster. Absolutely.
Okay. Cool. I like it. That's good. I like it. So, tell me more things.
So after, the molting process happens, so basically I like to say that we have 2 seasons at Penguin Island, and it's either breeding season or molting season. So we just ended our breeding season. And now we are heading into molting season. We have 14 breeding pairs. So not all of them are active breeders. We have some what we call foster parents as well, because some parents find it hard to be able to rear 2 eggs or 2 chicks. So we will take one of those eggs and we will give it to another pair to be able to foster, and we've actually done that pretty successfully.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. And speaking of alternative family types, I know that this exists in the world. I don't know if this is here, but I'm judging by all the dancing that's happening in front of you right now.
Lots of dancing.
Just take it. Just tell me.
Yeah. So we have a 2 female couple. Their names are Willow and Pistachio.
Yay.
They are the cutest little couple. We weren't really too sure how they were going to take to an egg that maybe just appears, because usually the female will kind of get that cue of, I need to sit, because she lays the egg. So I wasn't sure how one was going to feel versus the other. So Willow actually laid the egg, so one of the females, and a nest appeared and she sat on it right away, and I'm like, okay, Willow is good. Now how is Pistachio going to feel when she comes in? And I let her in, and she just walks right in, starts flirting, and they switch sitting on that egg so beautifully. They were such good girls. They were so great. They ate so well in the nest. They switched really well. So those are all things that we look for potential foster pairs, how they switch, how they eat on the nest. Are they still preening themselves, taking care of their feathers and everything like that? So they were perfect. And this was actually their first time sitting on a dummy egg. So we were all very proud of them.
That's so awesome. Yay. Penguins are my favorite.
Yes. I am so excited. They are the cutest little couple ever. They just sit on exhibit next to each other and preen each other.
Oh my god.
I love it.
That's so good. That is so good. And speaking of the exhibit, let's talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a pretty cool design.
Thanks. Yeah.
And I'm so curious about what the inside area is like too. So tell me all the things. And remember, all of my listeners aren't going to see this.
Yeah, that's true.
So explain.
So I have to use really descriptive words. Okay, so
yes. So far, you've stuck with little and blue. So
little
let's see
and
if we can
blue.
get beyond that.
Gotta use my big girl words. So we basically have a non-breeding and a breeding section when it comes to the breeding season. But since breeding season is over, it is all open. We have tons of gates that we are able to close to be able to close off different penguins if we need to. We have 10 permanent nesting areas that the penguins can sit in. They have a wide open space that they can sit in, a bunch of different rocks for them to climb on, as well as an indoor swimming pool.
Nice.
I know, right? Our birds are very spoiled. It's very nice.
And this is an outdoor exhibit. Although,
Yes.
like you said, they have the indoor.
Exactly. So it's the indoor pool is very nice when it gets too cold for African penguins to go outside. It's really nice for our older birds to be able to swim in it. Or if we have chicks, it's really nice for a juvenile to learn how to swim
Oh, cool.
in the holding pool
Okay.
rather than trying to put them out onto the exhibit, which we used to do, which was fine. But it's really nice alternative to do that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
And for people who come and are outside the exhibit, it's got a pool that kind of goes down and has a more open area, so you can
Yes.
like really see the penguins swimming deep.
Oh yeah, you can really see them dive deep. I mean, the pool is only about 8.5 feet deep. So it gives you a little bit of an idea, but I mean, an African penguin can dive about 99 feet down. So, you definitely get a sense of how well these guys can swim. Absolutely. My favorite is when they start porpoising out of the water. That's my favorite.
That's so awesome. So tell me about African penguins, like, again, in general.
Yeah.
Just, do the thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. African penguins, they're considered a medium-sized penguin. So they're about 18 to 22 inches tall. They can be between 5 and 9 pounds. They will add 1 to 2 pounds during molting. So they get very heavy, very hippy, and their wings get very thick. So we feed them 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They will kind of eat if they're hungry, and they will ignore us if they are not hungry. They can eat about 20% of their body weight, which is about like 100-pound person eating 80 quarter pounders in one day.
Wow.
I know. I usually ask if somebody would like to try that, see if they can eat like an African penguin. I get a lot of blank stares sometimes. So when I ask that question, and
Especially since you don't ask it here, you just ask it to random people.
yeah,
at bars
just
and-
randomly on the
Yep,
street.
Yeah,
Yeah,
makes
absolutely.
sense,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how I make friends. Excuse me, sir. Can I please offer you like a random penguin fact, please? Not at all weird. And we give them a different assortment of fish and squid. Everything is restaurant quality. However, we do fresh freeze it, so we do lose a little bit of nutritional value. So we do give them multivitamins. We do give them different supplements. Since Cliff is our oldest African penguin, he is on collagen, a joint supplement, and he's on a couple of pain medications because we get a little bit older, get a little arthritis. So he just used that. So he takes that every single day.
All right, we'll be back after this quick break.
Hi, this is Kathy Hill from the Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program. We're all about restoration projects in progress this season on One Lagoon, One Voice. Learn about the great strides the lagoon community is taking to restore and protect the Indian River Lagoon. Each week, we dive deep into discussions with scientists, resource managers, and nonprofit leaders to explore lagoon issues and solutions. From oyster reefs to clam restoration, algae blooms to muck, you'll learn all about the projects we're tackling to bring the Indian River Lagoon back to health. Click the link in the show notes to follow One Lagoon, One Voice, learn about the IRL Council, and explore our unique lagoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about Cliff, and
Yeah.
we've talked not nearly enough about Cassie.
No.
But tell me about some others.
So Ray is our last juvenile. So he has not molted just yet. But he is actually really cool. So his beak is a little bit different than anybody else's. So you can see I wear braces.
You do.
And this little guy, his beak is actually crooked. So it kind of crosses over. That's something that we noticed when he was little. We actually filed down his beak a little bit when he was younger. But now that he's older, he is still able to eat really well. He probably ate the best out of all three of the juveniles when he was little. He can still preen himself. He can still, poke somebody if someone bothers him. And he's able, to be a normal bird, even though his teeth or his beak might look a little bit different. Okay. So it's kind of nice and nice reminder to people that, just because you maybe look different, you're still perfectly capable of doing anything and everything you want to.
That's a beautiful message.
Right?
And that's right. To everyone listening, if you're a little different, you can still be a penguin.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Absolutely. No discrimination. No right or wrong way to be a penguin.
And so these goobs are obviously in Africa.
Yes, they are.
What I feel like, when I've done so many episodes, we've had Penguins International on here and stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like people still are just like, oh, penguins and polar bears live together. And we know that's not a thing.
No, it's not a thing.
What is their life like in Africa?
So their four main predators over in South Africa, they would have to worry about sharks, seals, sea lions, and killer whales. So they would be, all their predators, well, not all their predators, most of their predators would be in the water. However, they do have to worry about dogs. People have dogs over in South Africa. And, if you go walking along the beach and your dog is not on a leash, a dog could go after, a mom or a, dad penguin. And then that's very sad.
That is sad,
That
yes.
is very sad. And then you also have to worry about, feral cats and big birds as well. Big predator birds are going to go after them as well. And unfortunately, because the people want to be on the beach where the African penguins are, they lose a lot of their habitat because of it. So
Yeah, makes sense. And penguins, let's talk about some general penguin-y things.
okay.
So I before we started our interview, I mentioned that penguins are basically a reverse water gun.
Pretty much, yes.
So explain that to people.
So basically, penguins will go to the bathroom every 10 to 15 minutes. So we have 47, African penguins. So you guys do the math. We like to call it job security on our team that, they will always need somebody to clean up after the penguins. Always.
Yeah, that's a lot. And you talked about like trading off on the egg.
Yes.
So just explain that in case people didn't understand
Sure.
what that means.
Sure. So one of the things that we look for, not just for fosters, but for just the parents in general, and that's actually something that we record and keep track of, how often a parent will sit on the egg versus, be able to go out and go out and look for fish, swim, look for food, things like that. But here, they don't have to worry about looking for food. But we still look for them to be able to switch on and off. So one parent might sit on the egg, and then one might, get a day out on exhibit. And we're looking for that parent that's on exhibit to sit on the egg and give the parent that was sitting on the egg a chance to go outside.
So in general, both here and in the wild, the
Absolutely.
penguins, like co-rear.
Co-parent.
Yeah.
Co-rear. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. They're pretty 50-50. Although with some pairs, we might see like a male doing more of the sitting versus the female. But I think that's just their thing.
Right.
That's just them.
Yeah. Whatever works.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we touched on it a little bit, but monogamy. There's this weird belief
Yes.
that penguins are proof that like you can be monogamous
Yes.
and blah blah blah. And let's dispel some myths. Talk about what really happens.
Yes.
there.
So penguins, they don't stay together. Well, it's different at Adventure Aquarium because they do stay together all year round. But over in South Africa, they're not going to stay together all year round. They're going to come together for breeding, and then they're going to separate. So they might not see their partner until the next breeding season. And just because they had their partner or their mate for one season, they're going to try and find that mate. But if they don't, they might find somebody else that might be better. Or if they're with somebody, if they're with a penguin and they happen not to have a chick, they know something's wrong. So they're going to look for another potential mate.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And is all of the stuff about like, a penguin bringing a little pebble to his girlfriend, and all, is that all true, or is this just, Disney has ruined penguins?
They will definitely build their nest. They will definitely offer things. That's one of the enrichment devices that we will actually give to our penguins is collecting or nesting material. They like to collect things and make a nice, pretty nest. But unfortunately, they don't really like to collect rocks and things like that. Not in the sense that we think they do. No.
Right. Okay. And so speaking of enrichment,
yes,
I was out there today. And what the heck? Why do your penguins have a CD collection is really the question I'm asking you.
So one of our wonderful Dell interns that we had over this past season, she made us a CD stand. Penguins, we talked about how penguins are very visual animals. So CDs are very shiny. For those of you that may not know what a CD is, they're very shiny.
Whoa, that just hurt my soul. You're not wrong. No, you're not wrong.
I was like, I'm from your generation. Yeah. I know, but I'm just saying some people out there might not know what a CD is, what a DVD is. I mean, I'm just trying to include everybody.
No, you're right. It just hurt a little bit is all I'm saying.
I'm very aware of my age, so it's fine.
They're like shiny physical MP3s.
Pretty much.
My younger audience.
That's a great way to describe them. So the penguins love to chase shiny things. So since, the CDs are very shiny, especially on a very sunny day, they love to chase the shiny CD, or like we mentioned before, they like to chase shadows.
Right.
So it is a multi-purpose enrichment device, which is very fun.
That is cool. That is very cool. So, and I have to tell you, so I went out there.
Yes.
And, as you said, there are 40-some penguins.
Yeah.
And I was looking for one of them. And I saw the enrichment item. And I immediately was like, all right, let me look over there. And I bet you I will find Cassie. And guess who was right at a CD, flopping around at it? It was Cassie.
Yes.
Took me no time. And
My
I was
girl.
so happy.
She definitely loves things shiny.
So what is it like with, they all live together.
Yes.
And there are a ton of very big personalities.
Oh, yes.
So how does that work?
Well, we definitely have opinions about things, especially very early in the morning, because we get here pretty early in the morning, usually between, 6:30 and 7 o'clock in the morning. We come in and we check on all the birds. And, as soon as you turn on those lights in the morning, we have opinions. We are braying. We are, in each other's territory, in each other's space. So yeah, basically it's a whole lot of noise really early in the morning, basically all the time. So much yelling.
That's hilarious. If conflicts do come up, how do penguins resolve them? And how do you guys, do y'all get involved?
That's a great question. So they do have to work it out amongst themselves, especially when we break down breeding season. So during the breeding season, I talked about how I separate the breeders and the non-breeders. Because, when you're sitting on an egg, you don't want somebody kind of poking their head in and being nosy and, because that makes the parents a little bit, more protective, a little bit grumpy. So we keep the riffraff kind of away from them to be able to sit quietly. But when the breeding season's over, we break everything down. So the whole house is open for them and they have to figure it out amongst themselves, like who is sitting where and what. And because sometimes some couples will get kicked out of their area, which is fine. That would happen naturally in the wild anyway. If it gets to be too serious where we see where they're locking beaks or flipping each other over and it's constant, that's when we will step in and we'll separate, and we might even have to howdy or put them in like a playpen overnight to kind of let them settle. That's one of the nice things that we have our own vet staff here. That something were to happen to one of the birds, it could immediately be addressed.
All right, we'll be back after this quick break.
Animals are taking center stage in research, not just as objects for human benefit, but as beings with rich histories and geographies. Join me, Claudia Herzenfelder, on the Animal Turn podcast as I interview leading scholars about emerging ideas and concepts in animal studies. Each season delves into a unique theme, revealing how concepts intertwine or diverge, and this kind of discussion encourages a deeper reflection about animals and their broader contexts. So far, the podcast has considered themes as wide-ranging as law, politics, sound, the urban, and biosecurity, If you are interested in animals and unpacking the ways we know them, find the Animal Tone podcast wherever you listen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And while we're talking about the vet situation, there's a whole thing going on right now in our country, and I've been following it on my Zoo News episodes.
Yes.
But there is this avian influenza situation.
Yes,
happening.
it is. Yes, there is.
Can you talk to me about that? And especially with the African penguins being outside.
Sure, yeah.
What steps is Adventure taking?
That's a great question. So basically we are monitoring the migratory birds, making sure that we have we basically have a bubble. And if we find a case that comes within our bubble, we would actually pull our penguins off exhibit completely, just for their safety and their well-being. Since we don't have a case within our bubble, the penguins are still able to go outside with, like you said, some updated protocol. So every single day before the penguins go out, we actually bleach the deck every single day. Previous to that, we always disinfected the deck, but we bleach it just to make sure that, if wild migratory bird happened to poop on the deck, we would be able to disinfect it completely. Anything that goes out on exhibit that comes into the house has to be bleached before it goes into holding. So any mats, any enrichment, we have to make sure that it is bleached and dry before it gets put away. Certain staff members are no longer able to come into the house since we have a little blue chick who maybe doesn't have the best immune system. Someone that is working in the African penguin area cannot go over and cannot help with the little blue chick feedings or with any of the other bird areas as well. We also updated our foot bath protocol. So now we rotate our foot baths about every 2 to 3 days, or if it looks dirty, we do it before that. We use a new cleaning product called Vercon that all of our avian areas have it now. And we have to suit up. So that means we have to wear coveralls if we are with our penguins.
Wow.
I know. It's a lot, but they're worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth it. But like I said, if a case were to come into our bubble, we would pull them off exhibit. So we are monitoring that very closely.
Good.
Yeah.
You scared?
No, I mean, no, we are doing exactly what we're doing. We are monitoring. We have our protocols in place. I'm not worried. That's Adventure Aquarium is very proactive when it comes to things like that. No, I'm not worried at all.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. So let's talk about feeding penguins.
Yes.
I have been here for penguin feeding.
Yes.
And I would call it controlled chaos.
Oh, yes.
I'm not entirely sure that the word controlled is even right.
No, I'll say that's very polite of you to say controlled. Thank you for that.
So how the heck do you make sure that everyone gets what they need to get? Because I've watched you doing it, and I still don't understand.
That is a great question. So that's why there's always 2 of us when it comes to feeding. So one is feeding, one is recording. With 47 penguins, 3 times a day that we're feeding them. Somebody might come up, want to eat. I don't want to eat, and they'll walk away and ignore us. Or, so that recorder is very vital to each feed. They're paying attention to who's coming up to the bucket, who still needs a vitamin, who still needs medication. If a bird only ate maybe 1 or 2 fish, we're going to pay attention to that bird. Why is that bird only eating 1 or 2 fish? Is it because it's choosing to, or is it because it's getting bullied away by some other penguins? So that recorder is definitely very vital with another set of eyes on the birds.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. And is it just one of you feeding at a time, or will you go out in teams, or how does that work?
Oh, that's a great question. So it's usually just one person that's feeding and one person that's recording. Every once in a while, maybe we would have 2 feeders, just kind of as an enrichment thing. The birds quite don't know what to do when there's 2 feeders. They're like, "But you're here, but then you're over there," and it's like there's fish everywhere. Like my favorite thing to do is throw fish in the pool and to watch the birds be able to dive into the pool and grab the fish from in the water. That's my favorite thing to do. But yeah, a lot of times when there's 2 of us, they have no idea what to do. We blow their little minds. You see the wheels turn and they're just like, like buffering, like they can't compute what's going on.
That's amazing. Very cool.
Yeah.
And so there are A lot of different endangered and threatened and stuff. There are different statuses of different penguins in the wild. But there are definitely some cool organizations out there helping out. So want to shine a light?
Oh, absolutely. One of my favorites is Sandcob, wonderful organization over in South Africa. They do wonderful work, not just for African penguins, but any shore bird that will be found along their coast. They will rehabilitate African penguins and those shore birds and release them back into the wild. So they do great work. They will also rear chicks in a way that they can be released as well. So they do amazing work over there.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. I've helped with a couple fundraisers for them through Rossifari and stuff. Great organization. And then it's time. I guess I should call it the guano story.
It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
So we talked about that African penguins can, go to the bathroom every 10 to 15 minutes. One of the worst stories I guess I could tell with them is that, it was my first chick. His name is Goblin. He is band number 21 if you want to go out and look for him. I had him wrapped up in a towel, which I thought I had him wrapped up in a towel, but it turns out when I went out on exhibit, he had just completely just pooed and I didn't have the towel completely covering it. So the front of my pants were just completely covered in poop. And the worst part was it dripped down into my socks where it was touching my feet. So that was the worst part of it all, that my feet were covered in penguin poop.
Nice. Love it. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, just, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. This is great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, Dad. Liberty.
Hi, friends.
What are you doing? You poking it?
Penguins.
Silly birds.
So as we were walking up here, we were talking about the iconic music of Adventure Aquarium, and you told me something interesting about the penguins.
Yes.
That I thought was cool.
So during lockdown, it was very quiet around here, and the birds still went on exhibit like normal, to give them a chance to swim and stretch and get some sunshine. And I didn't think, the public isn't here. I don't have to turn on the music for them. This is great. And they were totally freaked out. It was way too quiet for them. They didn't like it. They didn't understand it. So during lockdown, I still had to turn the music on for them, just like, it would be like a normal day for them.
That's so interesting. Who's swimming right now?
That's Beaker.
Hi, Beaker.
So Beaker is hopefully going to be one of our breeders.
Okay.
He's still a little young, so he doesn't quite know what to do with himself just yet. He's young. He doesn't know any better yet.
That's fair.
He has to learn.
Oh, my goodness. And there's that lovely CD enrichment we were talking
there
about.
it is. There it is in all its glory.
Yeah. So where's Cassia? I lost her. She moved. I can't believe that you let her move since I was out here.
I know. How dare I?
Ridiculous.
Cassie Mama, where are you? Kiss. I see her. She's over here.
So how well trained are they?
They are pretty well trained. They do know their names, but they do practice. So she's straight back.
Yep.
So they are pretty well trained. They do know their names. However, they do practice, selective hearing.
Right.
Just like children.
Right.
So, Cassie definitely knows her name, right, Cass? Cassie! Cassie?
Yep.
She definitely knows her name, but she's like, nope, I'm still going to sit here because we're not going to do anything. I know you're just calling me just to call me.
That's awesome.
Right, Jefferson? So that's Jefferson right there. You see him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's so handsome, all nice and grown up like a big bird.
Bud.
So, like I said, so Jefferson is Cassie's offspring. One and only offspring so far. So it's really funny that they look similar and they walk very similar.
That is funny. I love the whole nature versus nurture thing.
Right.
And so y'all have a featured penguins of the day here. here.
We do.
And so who decides who's the featured penguin and how'd those facts get on there and stuff?
So we like to rotate them through when it comes to their hatch date. So we like to have at least one bird that has their hatch date in that month because, guests really like to look for that hatch date, look for that bird that hatched out that month, especially if it's like their birthday month. So like they love doing that as well. It's another way that our guests can have connections with our animals. And honestly, it's one of us. We'll just rotate them through every single month. And the staff actually get together and we think of different, cute little notes about a particular bird.
Nice.
Yes.
I love that. Very cool. Yeah, I think signage is incredibly important.
Oh my goodness, absolutely, absolutely. Especially, I love our one about molting, that it's molting, not revolting. That is my favorite one that we have.
That's awesome. I've actually noticed a lot of signage change here lately.
Yes.
Is that intentional as I look over at Lauren as well?
Yes,
Yeah?
absolutely.
Cool.
Like, I know Lauren can talk more about that, but yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. I think that's really important. I just think that that's always something that can always be growing and getting better.
Oh yeah,
Really
absolutely.
cool. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Do you have a problem? I mean, it's a pretty open exhibit. Do you ever have a problem with people doing the thing and trying to kidnap a penguin? Okay, not that.
No,
I'm kidding about that.
Not kidnapping.
Tossing stuff in. Or,
Unfortunately, we do have a problem with people throwing coins, as well as food into the exhibit. So we're always monitoring or we're always watching the birds. We do rounds. Every so often, making sure that the birds are okay. And unfortunately, because we had females swallow coins before, I know, we actually metal detect our penguins once a week.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I'm so glad I asked that question.
Yes.
That's so fascinating.
So that's one of the things that they have to be desensed to is a metal detector.
Wow.
Yes.
Also, you weren't kidding. You're 5 foot nothing.
Yes,
But
I'm pretty short.
I can totally see you like tackling some like 6'4" dude that's like dropping a coin in here.
Oh,
I could totally see that happening.
Don't mess with my babies. Don't mess with my babies.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. This is awesome.
I know they're all spoiled. They all know I love them. They definitely know they have me wrapped around their little wing.
Yes.
Because if any bird sits in front of that gate for so long, I'll be like, all right, you can come in. It's fine. It's fine. You don't need to be outside. That's fine. And then, reverse, if they're sitting in front of the door and they want to go outside, I'm like, all right, you can go outside. That's fine. So they definitely have me very well trained. Absolutely. They got me really well trained.
That's good. That's important. That's
Yes.
important. I did notice the one had the clicker that it pulled out when you were coming over,
Exactly.
so
They're
yeah.
like, good job, Mary. You're back. Good job. Where's the fish? Where's the laser pointer? We love the laser pointer.
Oh, they play with laser pointers.
Oh, the laser
too?
pointer
That's so
is
good.
the best. I got one of those automatic laser pointers, so you basically just like sit it on like something, turn it on, and you can walk away, and it has a timer. So I don't have to stand there and kind of do it with them. I can kind of, set them up with like an enrichment device with the laser pointer, and then go and like scrub the pool or, feed them or do something else that like I don't have to stand there and do it. So I can multitask and they can chase it while I'm doing something else.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disco ball.
Yeah, the
Yes.
disco ball. The disco ball is fun. We also have a projector. So, some people project like the images of like Christmas and things like that on there. So we actually have one for them as well. Inside the holding area, we'll turn it on and let them chase, snowflakes or butterflies or leaves. They love chasing those kinds of things.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's all incredible. Very cool. Well, thank you again.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
See, I told you it was a fun one. And don't forget, we'll be back next month at Adventure Aquarium, but also on Friday with Zoo News, and we'll be back next week with a normal interview from, I think, California again? Yeah, probably California again. I don't know. I'm sitting in a bed doing all this. But, yeah. Sounds like a plan, folks. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you again for all of those lovely adventures. And like I said, if you tune in on Friday, you'll hear a little bit more about what happened to me. And also, I'm going to be sharing a story that has been annoying the crap out of me for about, 2.5 weeks now. So I'm pretty excited to get it off my chest. I would like to say thank you to Laura Schenk, my Red Panda level patron, and remind all of my listeners that even when you're having a really hard week, the word credits backwards is still Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Vesley-Gross. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.